What's up, guys? I'm gonna talk a little bit about the latest news from Take-Two, Rockstar, the delay for Red Dead Redemption 2, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my opinion on why this stuff happens and continues to happen. And there are two major things going on with Take-Two in regards to the upcoming Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, you guys, if you've watched my videos before, I've talked about it before, I just cannot stand when developers announce games way too early in the development cycle. There's no real reason to do that except for what I'm going to talk about. But I'm sick and tired of it. Any big project, whether it's building a game, developing a game, or building a house, let's just use it as an example, there's a lot involved. It's very complicated. There's a lot of money involved, a lot of people, different people that come together to make a project work. So it's very difficult to pinpoint a release date when it comes to games, or when, let's say, a house is going to be built and you can move in. So you can take a round number and just say, well, this project should be finished in 2 years. So you project that and you look forward to that. But just like with any big project, there are inevitable delays. I mean, there are things that you try to take everything into account, but you always miss something, or something pops up that you didn't think about before. Problems, issues, just things, maybe some oversight in certain aspects of the project. It's inevitable. It's just going to happen. It's very difficult to nail down a release date or a finishing date for a project. You try, but you don't really know. Now, when it comes to developing games, the thing that bothers me is no game really needs that type of time to market. So why do it? And most people, they always, if you look at comment sections and any videos that are talking about delays to games, you see the same comments, and they usually start off by saying, well, they need more time to market or hype up the game. That's bullshit. No game needs that kind of hype or marketing unless it's from a developer who nobody knows about and a game no one's ever heard of. So then you want people early on to get an idea of what this game's about and what's to be expected. But that's the only case where you need that insane amount of time to just reveal information. Rockstar is known for making great games, and that's something nobody can deny. And you just know that when Rockstar's name is attached to a game, it's going to be a great game. So do they really need to market the game and hype it up? No. If they announce something today and say, hey, in 3 months this game's coming out, everybody's going to buy it. They're going to want it. The internet's going to go crazy. Social media. And if you don't believe what I'm saying about the marketing, just pay attention to what happens. Every single time Rockstar reveals the existence of anything regarding to a game that they're working on, it could be just releasing a screenshot or just talking about what they're working on. It always goes viral immediately. Look at what happened when they released the first trailer. People didn't come there saying, I never heard of this before. What is this? Who's this company? What is this game? No. Everybody, I would say 95% of the people that show up and watch that first trailer, let's just say as an example, they knew what they were coming for. And they couldn't wait because they know it's a Rockstar title. So this idea that they need to reveal all this stuff years ahead of a release, it's a joke. So that the marketing, forget about that. They don't need to market these games. People are going to run out and buy it. So why do they do it? Now, some of this stuff I've talked about in the past. But I'm going to tell you the first reason is going to, and like I said before, these are just my opinions. I can't tell you that it's 1000% for a fact. But my opinions, I think a lot about them, and I try to base them on as much realism as possible. Like, I see what's happened in the past, and I use that as a gauge to the future. If you see something happen repeatedly, you'd be an idiot to not connect the dots. So, like I've said before, Rockstar has a penchant for announcing fucking games that are years away. Okay, they did it with Grand Theft Auto 5, they did it with Grand Theft Auto 4, I mean, it just goes on and on. And the reason they do it, first and foremost, is to appease shareholders. All these companies have a fiscal year, which is not the same as a calendar year, but they have a certain criteria to meet before the fiscal year ends in order to appease shareholders, right? These things affect stock prices. So if you own stock in Take-Two, you're sitting around and you're like, Grand Theft Auto 5 is making a shitload of money, but what else is coming? Because that's the way these people think. In Wall Street, it's just, what have you done for me lately, and what's coming next? How can we keep the stock prices going up in a positive direction and keeping our profits, you know, in the red or whatever? I mean, I'm not an expert on Wall Street, the stock market, or the economy. I'm just kind of a layman, and I see certain things that make sense to me. You know, this is just the way I'm viewing it. But these people want to know what's coming next. What do you got? You don't. There was a time they were kind of releasing a game every year, so you kind of knew there was something coming along. It's not like that anymore. So they're milking GTA 5 for all it's worth. They're monetizing the hell out of it. According to Take-Two, though, they haven't done enough to monetize it. So that is going to lead me to something else. But that's the first reason they want to make sure they appease their shareholders before the end of the fiscal year. They have to announce something, even though they know this game is not going to come out anytime soon. Now, they announced this game well over a year ago. When they released that first trailer, that was a lifetime ago. They said it was going to come out last fall. Never happened. We didn't even get any news until it was near a year, and then we got the second trailer, and then people say, "Oh, okay, now it's going to be delayed till the spring of 2018." Oh, the game is not ready. We want to make sure we're polishing it. This is their go-to excuse every fucking time. We need to work on the game and polish it, and it works. That excuse works because if you look at any comment section, guaranteed you're going to find at least a dozen different people saying, I don't care when it comes out as long as it's great and it's perfect, and I totally get it. I'd rather they delay the game so that it's the best possible product. Now, I'm not in disagreement with that. I agree with that. Don't fucking release games that are not finished or that need a dozen patches. Okay? When you buy a game, you want to make sure that this game has passed thorough testing and is polished and is ready to go, because you just paid for a finished product and you deserve a finished product. And when it comes to Rockstar, you cannot argue that they don't make quality games. Their games are fantastic. I don't have a problem with them taking as long as it takes to polish a game, and that it comes out to their standards, because I know that what I'm getting is going to be awesome. My problem with them is that having to hear about a delay, knowing that this game's being worked on, and not having a clue when it's really coming out, and just getting this like slow drip of information, it's agonizing as a consumer. It doesn't really benefit them. Yeah, okay, everybody's hyped, but did it really add to the bottom line? Is this really going to add to the sales at the end? I don't think so. It doesn't make sense. Because the same people that are going to buy this game, that know about it, they would have ran out to buy this game even if they just found out now. Let's say they just announced it today that it's coming out in the fall. It's not going to change that number. Like I said, their games sell themselves. So this is strictly to appease shareholders. Now, they already delayed it, and now they just announced they're going to delay it again to next October. So that's almost another full year. This is ridiculous. But they knew this was coming. Now, there's another reason why this game is being delayed. Again, let me preface it by saying this is strictly my opinion. Okay? But I'm a pretty fucking smart guy, so I know what I'm talking about. Trust me when I tell you, this further delay, I would say a 85% chance that most of what they're working on is monetization. This game is finished. If anything, it would have been in the final testing stages, just to make sure everything works properly. What makes me say that? Well, they originally announced that it was going to come out last fall, months ago. That was over a year ago when they made that announcement. So when they came out and they made that announcement, they already knew how far along they were with the game. And like I said before, it's inevitable. Things pop up, little issues here and there that do ultimately cause delays. But not this long of a delay. It's basically a fucking joke at this point. So everybody's buying this idea that they're polishing the game because they want to make sure it's the best possible game. That's not why this fucking delay is happening. Okay? They thought this game was going to come out months ago, and now it's another full year. For what? For polishing? Get the fuck out of here. This is not about polishing the game. This is about monetizing. And they want to make sure that on day one, they can implement as much monetization as they can and squeeze as much profit out of the game as possible. Now, listen, man, I don't want you guys to think that I'm anti-capitalist and I'm a hardcore socialist. I do believe that there's a place for both, and we should have a nice mix of two systems, right? So I do believe in capitalism, but we've gone so far where we allow people to do whatever the fuck they want in the name of profit, no matter how this affects consumers or society in total. I'm not going to go further into it. That's more politics, this discussion, and it's a much bigger subject. But in terms of game development, these developers are so greedy now, right? And like I said, I don't begrudge people making profit or as much as they can. But there's a point, there's a limit where you say, now you are ripping us off. DLC, for the most part, it's things that are already should be part of the main game and is always taken out. It's put behind a lock and key, and then if you pay extra, then they just unlock that thing for you, and then you have access to it. That's fucked up. That's why we used to get games many years ago that had more content. They were more fleshed out. They had better single game experience, single player experiences offline. Now everything is based on online multiplayer and loot crates and loot boxes and all this other fucking bullshit, because they want to monetize as much as possible. Now, if most of this stuff was just generic skins and just shit that makes you customize better, stuff like that, I wouldn't give a shit. Because, you know, if you want to waste your money on that stuff, that's on you. The problem is they figured out that by making these games unbalanced, they can create a need to buy a lot of this shit just so you can compete online, because it's an unbalanced system. If you go out and you playing against other players who buy all this shit and you decide, I'm not buying it, which I don't, but guess what? Now it ruins my game experience. Everything's unbalanced, and it's not really a fair competition. You know, I talked about this with Max Payne 3. They completely ruined that game. It became a mess, and it was with the DLC and all this bullshit with bomb suits and all that. You can't kill these people. It's just, I talked about it before. I'm not going to get into it again, but the bottom line is that they purposely make these games unbalanced so that if you decide, I'm not going to buy this extra stuff, right? And they say, yeah, you know, it's totally your choice. You could still enjoy the game without it, but you find yourself in many situations where it's not fun because it's unbalanced and you're getting your ass kicked, and it's like, now either I do what everyone else is doing and buy into this shit just to be even, or I'm not going to enjoy this game in the same way. And that's how they do it. So basically what Take-Two is doing, because they've talked about this ad nauseum. I can't tell you how many times they've already talked about it in terms of Grand Theft Auto 5. They've already said it multiple times. Excuse me. They've said that they feel they haven't monetized GTA 5 enough. And that fucking game, you wouldn't believe how much money they're making off of it. This game came out how many fucking years ago? And it's the only game they've released in God knows how long. And so they're not monetizing the shit out of it? Come on. So this is where we are today. And in regards to the loot crates and all this other bullshit, this is the other big reason why this delay is all the way till the fall. What happened with EA, Take-Two has taken notice. They've also taken some heat for the NBA 2K franchise, which I talked about, and what a disaster that's become. And it's just nothing but microtransactions. So they know they're going to catch heat. So now they got to figure out how to monetize this game without being so in your face about it, because they don't want what happened to EA to happen to them. So they're not stupid. They're aware of it. And that's one of the biggest reasons why we have this fucking delay that nobody's talking about. It's about monetizing. Mark my fucking words. You watch. You watch. And they don't, you know, it's a lot of work that has to go in. And they want to make sure that when this game comes out on day one, that they have all the systems in place. They don't want to start scrambling and trying to rush ways to get the game monetized. With GTA 5, they weren't really ready on release day. You know, as time has gone on and the game has evolved, they've found more and more ways to get people to buy these shark cards. And it works. So they want, this time around, they want to be ready immediately. And I'm telling you, what else can explain? Don't buy this fucking bullshit about we want to make sure that you have the best possible game when it comes out. Yeah, I'm sure they do, right? they do create great games, and that's what bothers me. It's like the game's going to be worth every penny, but the monetization, the microtransactions, I'm not with that. And I'm afraid that they're going to do what they did with Max Payne 3, where, and even Grand Theft Auto 5, there are times in this game where you're just like, these fucking people are kicking my ass. And they got all these crazy fucking weapons and all these vehicles. And the only way you're going to be able to get all this stuff is to buy shark cards. Unless you're willing to spend countless hours grinding. And that's where we are today. But those are the main reasons why this game is being delayed. And don't let anyone else fool you. Don't buy the bullshit. That's why you gotta wait all the way till next fucking October for a game that was announced well over a year ago to come out months ago? And they're just polishing? That's a load of bullshit. Sell that shit to someone else. Now, again, these are just my opinions. And you know what? Maybe there's a chance I'm wrong, but I doubt it. Because I've been around long enough. I've seen the way they operate, and I understand the way they think. So, I love Rockstar Games as a game developer. I love their games, but this idea that they need to market the game and hype it up, and that they need to polish it, bullshit. It's about appeasing shareholders, and it's about monetizing. And they weren't ready to release this game last fall because of all the shit that was happening with EA and all the controversy with the microtransactions. They don't want the same thing to happen to them. So they're being smart about it by delaying it, but the reason behind why they're doing it, you're not fooling me. You might fool most of these other guys who keep buying into this shit about, oh yeah, well, they're just polishing. They're not polishing. How fucking long have they been developing this game? And if they announced it was coming out last fall, over a year ago, they were already near testing stages and polishing back then. Now you need another fucking year to polish? Get the fuck out of here. Some of you may disagree with me. Mark my fucking words. That's what's happening. So, I'm interested to know what you guys think. I know this game's going to be incredible. And I'm going to buy it. But I refuse to buy into the microtransactions. And you know what? There may come a day where I don't have a choice. But that day isn't fucking here yet. And I play on Grand Theft Auto 5 with some pretty decent guys. Good people. But even they're saying, hey, you know, I'm going to buy this fucking shark card because I want to get this fucking, you know, this vehicle, whatever. And, you know, I don't want to shame anyone. I don't want to fault anybody. It's your money. You're free to do what you want with it. But just realize, keep in mind that you are feeding this broken system. And the reason why game development is what it is today is because people started buying into that DLC shit years ago. And I used to argue with people online, about DLC. And they would tell me, oh, well, it's worth it for these paint schemes. You know, it's worth $5.99. That's not a lot of money. That's how they fucking get you, because at the end of the day, it's really not a lot of money, but it adds up for them. And at the end of the day, are you really getting something worth the money? It's fucking skins and bullshit. But now they've gone beyond that. Now they're, like I said, they're making these games unbalanced. Where now it's not just buying a cool suit or making your character more customizable. It's about weapons now. It's about shit that makes the field unbalanced. And now you're out there running around. You didn't buy any of this shit. And now you're like, this fucking game is so unbalanced. I'm getting killed out here. That's where it came from. It came from people buying into the bullshit. And I still refuse to do it. But I can't tell people what to do with their money. I can only warn you that you are part of the reason this industry is where it is, and it's continuing to go that way. I'm afraid of where we are going to be in a couple years. And I've said this in a previous video, man. There's going to, mark my words, there's going to come a day where somebody's going to release a fucking game and they're going to release it for free. And they're going to charge you to rent it because it's more money for them. Because for what they charge on a rental, by the time you finish playing the game, you've already paid for the game 3 or 4 times over. Could you imagine if Grand Theft Auto 5 was released for free, but they rented it to you? Most people that played Grand Theft Auto 5, including myself, have been playing it from the day it came out, years ago, all the way back on the PS3. And I still play this game all the time. So what would it have cost for you to still be playing this game after all these years? Could you imagine the profit they would make? And people would have ran and said, hey, well, the game was free. It's worth it. Because you don't want to look beyond what's in front of you. You have to be 2-3 steps ahead and see where this is going. And that's why I don't want to be a part of the problem. So, what do you guys think about this delay? About my opinion on this stuff? I'm always open to being corrected. I don't have all the answers. I'm not an expert on any of this shit. But I have common sense. And certain things don't make sense to me. And you're not going to fucking tell me that for the past 2 years that they've been talking about this game, and it's delayed for almost another full year, that it's about polishing. Get the fuck out of here. So, what do you guys think? I look forward to your comments, and I'll see you guys around when there's something else to talk about. Later.